boom, 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 boom. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. We're on the line for 20 bucks. They keep on playing, but nobody's paying. Hi, Jabor. Jabor from Montreal. I hope you're well, guys, safe and warm. And I'm Maggie, Mrs. Calabash. Come into my kitchen where it's nice and warm. Today we're going Italian. We're going to do something a little bit different. Individual pizzas. Now, these are really, really easy to make. I've made these with 2-year-olds and they've made up their own pizza. They made a mess, but they've really enjoyed themselves. And red pepper soup with lime. So come back over to the stove. I've got a little olive oil in here heating, and these are the red peppers. 4 red peppers, seeded, chopped, and the secret is to choose, as I said, to choose peppers that are really, really ripe so that you get the sweetness and the flavour. If you want to add an intensity to the flavour, then you could roast 2 of the red peppers. That will give a different layer of flavour. So I'm just putting my hand over for the olive oil, because just remember, you've got olive oil. You can't bring it up to such a high temperature as you can a sunflower oil or a canola oil or a vegetable oil. That is feeling just nice and warm. You hear the sizzle. Let's get rid of that. Just going to turn down the heat down just a little bit, because I want these to go nice and tender. And you see, I've got my recipe sheet. I've got a large chopped onion here with some garlic. Now I'm putting the garlic in with the onion at this stage, because we do have, it's not, the onion isn't, the garlic isn't going directly onto the hot pan. Garlic can burn. It's got a lot of sugar in it, natural sugar. And this is why we tend to cook the onions or something else first and then add the garlic so that it doesn't burn. There we are. And remember, we're cooking soup. So that means that you need to chop fairly small so that the flavour, the more cut edges you've got, the more flavour is going to escape. Get rid of that. Now, I made some pizza earlier and I put it in the oven and I can smell it. I'm just going to have a look. I think it might be ready. I just want to turn that up a bit. Let's have a look in the oven, should we? Ooh. Look at those. Can you see them, Derek?
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to leave them for a further minute or 2, because that one doesn't look quite as cooked as I would like it. I don't have a pizza stone, so I get my tray nice and hot first. Whoops, there we are. We want to soften the onion. There we are. Now, I've got some chilli here. Look, it's cut very, very thinly. Now, the easiest way, that's a fresh chilli, the easiest way I find to get chilli nice and thin so you don't get a mouthful is to open it, seed it, and then I get a little pair of scissors and chop it very, very finely. Just slice it off with the scissors. And I find that much easier and quicker. There we are. We need to add some flavour. So I've got some tomato paste. It's smelling quite good, actually. Put the tomato paste in there. Now we've got 3¼ cups of stock, which is divided. So just for speed today and easiness, I've divided them already. I'm using chicken stock. If you want to be vegetarian, then use a good vegetable stock. You can save the vegetable water from when you've been cooking potatoes and greens, and that makes a good stock. Or you could buy some. But I never throw my vegetable water away. It either goes into the dog's food, because I cook the dog's food. They love the vegetables. In fact, Koki, the little one, will raid the vegetable shelf. I found him the other day. I'd got a cabbage and I hadn't put it up on the highest shelf because he's only a little cocker. And he'd got a cabbage and he was stripping the leaves of the cabbage and eating them. He'll eat anything. He raids the garden. It's a shocker. You can't grow anything in the garden. If he gets in, he just, especially tomatoes, he just reaches up. Now I'm turning the heat down. As you can see, I'm watching. This needs to cook for about 10 minutes so that all the veggies cook nicely. We're going to, then I'm using an immersion blender. That's why I'm using a cast iron pan today, so I don't damage the surfaces of my non-stick pans. But you could use, you could put it in a food processor or a blender. I just don't like all the washing up. I'm lazy. Anybody that knows me knows I don't like washing up. Anyway, let's have a look. Whoa, they're cooked. There we are. We'll just let them sit there for a minute or two whilst I get my other pizza ready. So come back to the butcher block with me and we'll start making the pizza. Recipes. I know this recipe off by heart, but you can bet your life today when I'm telling you, the mind will go ding. So an individual pizza. I doubled this recipe for that. So each one of those is one mixing. It works out roughly to about £1 2 ounce in dough if you're using pizza dough for each pizza. I've made them quite thick today. Sometimes I roll them very, very thinly because with being diabetic, the dough's not the best bit for me. So in here we've got plain flour. I don't use bread flour, just plain flour. Just want to see how hot that water is. I'm going to put it on for a few minutes. It's roughly 1/3 cup of water, depending on your flour. If you're using a bread flour, it'll take slightly more water. Half a teaspoon of instant yeast. It's very important with this that we use the instant yeast because you mix it in with the flour. Half a cup of flour. It's roughly 1/8 teaspoon of salt. If you're doing it with kids, get them to 1, 2, 3 pinches, and you don't need any sugar in with this. With that yeast, you don't need sugar. And then I like to cook them about 425. It depends on the oven. So just let me pour out some water. This might be a little bit warm. That is a little bit warm. I'm going to add a drop of cold water to it. There we are. Now, we're using instant yeast. So with normal yeast, you have lukewarm water. and you have to put sugar with it because sugar feeds the yeast. You don't have to do that with the instant yeast, and it works better if you have a hotter water. So just mix this. As I say, it is roughly about 1/3 of a cup. I find with a dough, it rises better if the dough's just a little bit more moist. It's got more elasticity in it. That looks about right. Yep. As I say, there's no big deal to make this. Very quick, very easy. Some flour. I'm going to make some space. I've got flour the hands. Just pull it together in the bowl, like that. Start pulling it over. And I do like to finish it off on the board. Let's get rid of that. Always make sure your hands are well washed. I wash mine just before the show. And I find the easiest way to knead, let me move that and I can show you, is to pull it into the center. Use your knuckles. Use that part of your hands. So we're just pulling it into the center and we push down, we pull over, push down and push. And you can feel the dough changing underneath your fingers. You can tell when it's ready. It has a different texture. This is just about ready. Now, I've never mastered the art of putting a pizza on my finger and going, I've tried, and I get a hole in the center. I can't do it. What we used to do, I used to do with the children, because by this time they got a fair amount of flour everywhere. Made sure that the hands were nice and floury. Make it into a ball, and they made it into some fun shapes sometimes. We used to have teddy bears, but pull it out, and they can do it like this. Pull it round, and you can see how it's growing.
Hold it down.
Like
Hold
that.
It down, yeah. That's better.
My round. I give up. I give up. I need my rolling pin. I need. I'm not Italian. Some of the kids could do it, and they put it on the fingers because we had a lot of Italian families, and they go round and round and round. We used to do this for birthday parties and all sorts of things. And it's a great idea when the COVID is over for a kid's birthday party, if you've not got too many. Let them make a pizza. They love it. So just push it out. Keep it going. Push it out like that. Try and keep it into shape. Now, you can, there's two ways of doing this. It works both ways. If you're in a hurry, then eat it, cook it like this that we're going to do today. If not, I like to let it rise for about a quarter of an hour, something like that, just to let it set. Fold it into half and just put it on a baking sheet. There we are. Now, let's get rid of some of this flour, should we? So we don't get it all over the floor. I've got a knife, an old metal ruler. It's a printer's ruler. So just put your dirty bowl underneath. There we are. And that stops it going all over the floor. I'm going to wash my hands. Ugh. There we are. Now the secret is, when you put the bowl to soak, put cold water in it, not hot water. Hot water will make it like a starch. That's what starch is made out of, and glue. So put cold water in it. Let's just wipe the table. There we are. So I've got some parchment paper. In here, I've got a little olive oil. I like just to brush the pizza with some oil, and it stops it stops the dough going soggy. It just adds that barrier. Now you can use pizza sauce, tomato. This is what I like to put on. These are the bottles of sieved tomatoes. I like the sieved tomatoes. I find that they're really, really versatile, and then they've got a good flavour. There's no added sugar. You see, I'm always looking for any added sugar. Now, I like to add, where is it? Here we are. I like to add just a little oregano. Some dried oregano, just a pinch. Now, the nice thing about pizzas is you can put on whatever you like. Now, I'm not too keen on, I'm making this for Derek. Now, I'm not too keen on a lot of onion on my pizza. He would have 2 or 3 onions on his pizza. So the nice thing is that you can add what you like to the pizza. He's going to moan, there's not enough onions. A little peppers. Don't like the looks of that one. Some sliced mushroom. Now, I like on my pizza, I like anchovies. I hadn't got anchovies today when I made the other pizzas, so I put some capers on, and they've got that nice salty flavour. This is another thing where we differ. He likes tomato slices on. I'm not too keen on tomato slices. And the nice thing is, if you're vegetarian, then you can pack it with vegetables and different cheeses, whatever whatever the mind likes. Pepperoni. I'm a little bit picky with pepperoni. I like this dried pepperoni. I think it has a nicer flavour. When we used to do it with the children, some just wanted cheese and tomato on it, tomato sauce. That was it. No pepperoni. Don't like pepperoni. Great. More for everybody else, because the other kids would say, "I'll have their pepperoni, miss. I'll have their pepperoni." So a mixture of cheese. As I say, I've always got cheese in the cheese drawer, and when it gets towards the end of the piece of cheese, I grate it and mix it together, so we have a different flavour. Now, I never know whether you put your cheese on first and then your fillings over the top, or I tend to put the fillings on and then the cheese on top of that. So I don't know if there's a correct way of doing it or not. I'm getting a lot of washing up. There we are. Can you see? That's the pepperoni and everything on my pizza. It's going in the oven, 420, and it should be cooked by the time we'd finish the show, and if not, that's why I did the other ones. So the vegetables will be cooked. Ooh, I need to wash my hands. Now I'm going to switch the heat off, and I'm going to just emulsify this, so it's going to make a noise. Using it doesn't go quite as smooth using the emulsion blender, but I don't mind just a little bit of whole pepper in there. We'll have to taste it for seasoning in a minute. Look at the lovely rich colour. Can you see it, Derek?
Yeah.
Lovely rich colour. The peppers are the tomato paste. There we are. We can always add a little more later. Now I've got lime juice here. I'm going to put in. This is grated lime skin, and let's turn this up because this is the rest of the stock. Where's my? And we need to bring this up to the heat. Now I've not put any, I'm going to just emulsify that a little bit more. I've not put any cream or anything in this at the moment. You can add a little cream and swirl it over the top just before serving. But I'm looking at what I've got with it, and I'm looking at the cheese on the pizza, and I'm thinking, not for me. There's too much cholesterol if I put the cream in here, so I'm pulling back. You could always add a drop of white wine or red wine to it if you've got a drop in the bottom of a bottle. And then we're going to test for seasoning. Let's test that. It's got a nice flavour, but it's lacking. Some Mrs. Calabash spice, seasoning rather, 3 salt to 1 pepper. It might need a little salt on its own. I didn't want to add too much seasoning to begin with. It's got a nice creamy flavour, but it needs a little salt on its own. No more pepper. The chilli in there just gives a hint of warmness as it goes down. There we are. Might need a little bit more. But seasoning is so personal that I never say to anybody, oh, put X amount in, because it depends. If you're on a salt-free diet, then you have to add some herbs to it to bring out the flavour. A little more. Just a tiny little more. That will do it. I'm just going to, I like my food very hot. So I'm going to turn that down. Just let it cook gently whilst I plate up the pizza. Let's, ooh, I don't know which is which. Ah, that's yours, Derek, there. That one. Lots of tomatoes on it. Are you ready for lunch? Are you ready for lunch?
Oh, yeah. The big one's mine.
That one with all the tomatoes on is yours.
And onions, yeah.
And onions. I think I might have been a bit mean with my size of plate. Should we cut them up? Cut one up. I'll cut this one up. It's probably easier to cut up than with all the tomatoes. Oh, that's the bread knife. This is mine. It's got, I think this will do for supper as well for me. There we are, that's mine. This one's yours. Whoa, it's falling off. So you see, it's a nice light dough. And it takes no time at all to make. Let's get rid of this. Okay, let's look in the oven. Not quite cooked, so when we dish this up, we'll have another look. I'll show you what it looks like and show you that is why I did one previous. A soup tureen. Now, this is where I could groan. I'm doing very well. We don't want to waste any. Let me put this over here. A nice soup ladle, and over the top we have just a little bit of lime to go like that over the top. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. On the line for 20 bucks. Bye everybody. Bye Jabor. Some nickels and some dimes. Doom, boom, 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 boom. I'll see you next week. Stay safe. Stay well. We can pay the rent on the money that we spent. Can't bet buy on 20 bucks. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. People in line for 20 bucks.